Hey, you're listening to the Smoke Meat Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Pittman. Today we've got a very special episode. I've got such a wonderful guest. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. In January of 1998, a young man named Kyle Dinkheller, who was a deputy with Lawrence County Sheriff's Department here in Georgia, was doing routine patrol and clocked a man speeding. Routine traffic stop, and during this traffic stop, Kyle was murdered. I'm so happy we did not see it happen on dash cam, but you could hear everything, and you could see the suspect, what he did. And this video has been a lesson for so many new officers and so many old officers that have had a reminder with it, that things can go sideways really quick. Well, Kyle's dad's name is Kirk Dinkheller, and I had the privilege of meeting him a long time ago, and we've become friends. And Kirk goes around to police academies all over the country and shows this video and walks people through it, just so he can help people come home at the end of their shift. And he is a Superman for that. So we're going to go on ahead and kick this episode off here on Smoked Meat. Hey, so how the hell are you doing today, Kirk?
I'm doing good. What about you?
Man, if I was any better, I would be twins. I am so happy to have you on here today.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I know. I've told my listeners a little bit in my intro about who you are and a little bit about Kyle. And, I can't do either of them justice because, Kyle paid the ultimate price. And you go out and you help keep his legacy alive, and you help protect other people by showing the video and talking about it. Man, that just goes all through me. That's just the sacrifice that you're doing by reliving that constantly to help others.
That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I feel like. It's, Kyle took his last breath. So people tell me that you don't die just once, you die twice. First time is when you take your last breath. Second time is when people quit talking about you. Yeah. Then you're truly gone. So as long as I'm here, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, talking to whoever wants to hear about it.
Yeah, and I feel like you may never know number or even one, but I guarantee that you doing this has saved at least one life, if not thousands.
Well, I'm hoping so. I believe that's the case. That it's helped more than one person just by me talking. So that's a good thing. As long as you're talking about him, he's still here.
Yeah. I don't remember how I came upon the video and everything I remember the first time I watched it, I was floored. I was sitting here thinking, I'm sitting here listening to this hot mic, and I mean, this man's taking his last breath because some guy didn't want a ticket.
That's right.
That hit me hard to begin with.
Yeah.
And then I remember reaching out to you, and you came by my station in McDuffie County, and we talked, and you walked me through that video without even watching the video, and it just, man, it added so many layers to it. Just, it drove it so far home.
Yeah, that's right. People ask me all the time, how can I go to teach these recruits or in-service classes and show the video and watch Kyle get murdered over and over again? And I tell people, I don't need the video. It's in my head 24 hours a day, and it's playing all the time. So yeah. I live it every day.
Yeah. Man, it just floors me. I don't have a son. I have two girls, and I worry for them every day. They're not law enforcement or public safety, but still, the world that we're in right now, I worry about them every day.
You have to. It's not getting any better. I mean, think about it. 1998, no tasers. Things were a lot different. Training was a lot different back then. All you had was an aspeton and maybe some mace. That was it. So, And it was, crime was bad, but not as bad as it is today. I mean, it's terrible today.
It is. I was nobody cares anymore. The other night, I told you I heard a guy get shot on the
Yeah,
ambulance.
yeah,
And we had that drive by one street from us a couple of weeks ago. This world's changing so much, and
yep,
I'm pretty sure you knew Monday last week. We became constitutional carry,
yep.
and
You bet.
that makes me feel so good.
Yep, that's right. I
Uh,
I promise you, I don't go nowhere without mine.
yeah, I'm with you. I had my permit had lapsed, and I went a couple being able to carry legally,
Yeah,
and it felt so good that afternoon to be able to put mine on and just be fine with it.
that's right.
And I've taught both my girls to shoot from a young age, and my wife knows how to shoot. They've all got their weapons, and it just feels good to be able to know they're actually protected.
That's right. Partially is the right word to use, but I mean, it just pisses me off more and more every day how law enforcement get villainized, and then all the people that are bitching about law enforcement are the first ones to call you and say, "Come on, I need help. Why did it take you so long to get here?" Well,
Yeah,
you don't want them there in the first place. Handle your own shit.
yeah,
So it's a double-edged sword. So I mean, and as well as I do, it takes a special kind of person to be in law enforcement. You're not doing it for the money or the glory. It's a calling as far as I'm concerned. So any public safety is a calling. It's not something that you seek out. You know, you've got to be the right type of person to be in public safety.
yeah, definitely. Because we're definitely not getting rich. I've been doing this 32 years, and I'm talking to you before I've got to go to work this evening. So I'm going to
Yeah.
have to work till noon the day of my funeral.
Yeah. See, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, you think about it. Back in '98, Kyle worked for the sheriff's department. He made 22,000 a year.
Yeah,
And how can somebody live off of 22,000 a year with a
yeah,
family?
exactly.
With a family. So I mean, yeah, I've always said forever that law enforcement, first responders should be the highest paying jobs in the state.
Yeah, I tell you, and it's strange because every day I get up and get ready to go to work. Well, I work nights every night I do, and I think to myself, why am I going to this place today? Why don't I go sell shoes? And then that night I get to make a difference in somebody's life. If it's nothing else but going to their house and checking their blood pressure to make them feel better about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
That's why I said it's a calling. It's not because you're going to get rich.
yeah,
It takes a special person to do what you all do.
yeah. I tell you, it's funny. When I was in high school, I wanted to go into the military. I wanted to do 30 different jobs like every high schooler does.
Right, right.
And I took a job out of high school managing a Christian bookstore. I had no clue about retail, let alone managing it. And one of my clients that came in there regular was a guy named Bob Francois. I hope Bob's listening. I haven't talked to him in years. But he was the maintenance director at the hospital in McDuffie County, where I'm from. And
Right.
he asked me one day, he said, "You ever thought about riding an ambulance?" I'm like, "No." And he told me he was part of the head of the Explorer program at the hospital. And he said, "Come on down, man. You just out of high school. You're still of age to go." And I said, "Oh, why not? I'll give it a shot." And it just from then on, it's what I've done.
Yep. Like I
So
said, it's a calling. You
yeah,
could have done anything you wanted, and you chose this profession. And so that's just the way it is. That's what
yep,
you're supposed to do. Just like I'm supposed to go and talk about Kyle and try to save as many officers as I can.
yeah,
And I don't do it for the money. I don't even charge anybody. If I got to go out of town, Get me there, get me home. Pay for
Yeah.
my gas, whatever. I'm not charging nobody to talk. I could run my mouth every day, all day about Kyle and law enforcement. So
Yeah.
I don't do it. I don't do it for say, give me a paycheck. I do it because it's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you, I'm so happy that you do it. And, there's a lot of people that haven't had the blessing of hearing you talk about the video. If you would like to, would you like to talk about it for my listeners?
Sure, I'll talk about it. I mean, like I told you before, and you know it, I'm an open book. I'll tell you anything. You might not want to hear it, but I'm going to tell you.
Well, you go right ahead, and like I say, this charts, and I'm in the top 10% right now of all shows globally. So think of it as your biggest audience ever.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah. I will shut my cake hole and let you roll, my friend.
Well, I mean, I know everybody's seen the video. Well, the majority of law enforcement has seen it. I don't know about people not in law enforcement, but I've talked to people that have seen it on YouTube and this and that stuff. I mean, it's a horrific video, and what people don't know is Kyle was not just shot one time. Kyle was shot 10 times. He took 9 shots to the body, and while he was laying there, and Brad, you know this for watching it yourself, the
Yeah.
man stood over him with an M1 carbine and shot him through the right eye
Yeah.
after 9 shots. So Kyle took a total of 10, the last one being in his right eye. And then the man said just blatantly, "Die, motherfucker," as he shot him through the eye. All over a traffic stop for a speeding ticket.
Yeah.
And so I have to live with that every day. I mean, and I'll talk a little bit to classes about tactics and what Kyle did wrong, what he did right, because he did do things wrong. But Kyle, in his defense, and I'm sure it's probably a lot of officers feel the same way, they want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And they try to make sure that they give them a little bit, but only a little bit. I tell
Yeah.
people, show mercy, but don't show too much mercy.
Yeah.
Go home at the end of the day. Your job is get rid of bad people, get them off the roads, arrest people, but your ultimate goal is to go home to your family every night. And
Yeah.
I tell them, you can watch this video and you could talk about the training, and I leave that part to the experts. I put in my 2 cents, what I think and how I feel, but my message to every law enforcement officer is to go home at the end of the shift and make memories with your families, because that's all they're going to have if something was to happen to them. It's like I tell people, Kyle was 22 years old when he got killed. He had a 1.5-year-old daughter. The day he died, his wife found out she was pregnant with their son. So their son, Kyle's son, didn't have any memories at all with Kyle. His daughter only had a 1.5 years with him. So now it's my job to tell them what kind of a man Kyle was, what kind of a kid was Kyle. I'm constantly telling them so they'll have some kind of memory of them, but all it is words. It's not physical. So everybody needs to take time off and make memories with your family. You all have stressful jobs, whether it be driving an ambulance, working fire department, being a cop, stressful jobs. And so you got to kind of try to balance. It's hard to say balance shit out, but you got to be able to step back and spend that time with your kid, going to a ball game, going to a dance recital, doing whatever it is to spend time with your family, so they have something to fall back on if something was to happen to any one of them, So that's mainly my message. You look at me. I've been without Kyle for 24 years. I've been without him longer than he was alive. So all I have is the memories of that. And when I hear his voice on the video, yeah, it kind of messes me up because I don't get to hear that on a daily basis. So that's what, and not tell people. I mean, this is, you look at me, it's the other side of a tragedy. What's left behind to have to pick up the pieces and try to function like a normal human. And I'll tell you, I mean, it's gotten to the point nowadays where I rather spend my time around people that are in public service, law enforcement, fire, whatever it is. I can relate to them better than I can the normal person on the street because most people on the street are, and I hate people. I can't stand people. And it's a
Yeah.
harsh word to use, but I feel more comfortable around people in public service, law enforcement, EMS, whatever. I can relate to them better than I can other people. And
Yeah.
so basically, that's what I do. And my message is pretty clear when I go to teach classes and stuff. It's not hounding you about tactics or training. Yeah, that's the best part. I mean, you have to train and you constantly got to train because of the way shit's turning around and changing. So basically, it's, you know, look at me. You don't want your family to be like me.
Yeah.
I'm one of, there's over 22,000 families that are just in the same boat as me. And that's way too high. I mean, I've gone to do police week and talk to families that are there for their loved ones that have been killed in the line of duty the previous year. And constant questions are, how do you do it? How do you cope with it? What am I going to feel? How am I going to get through this? What happens at a trial? All these other questions that I hate the fact that I know the answers to them, but if it helps another family get through the grieving process or what's going to transpire in the next year or two, then I hope I make their lives a little better.
Yeah.
And I tell people, it's a stressful job. And if you need to vent sometime, call me. I mean, I'll listen to you. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what I think and how I feel and this and that. But anybody can always call me or get a hold of me to vent because you got to have some kind of relief. You want to call me up and cuss me out or scream and holler? Knock yourself out. I'll listen to you. I don't take it personal. So that's pretty much my message to everybody that's in law enforcement or even out of law enforcement or knows somebody in law enforcement. It's a
Yeah.
struggle every day. You know as well as I do. It's a struggle every day to kind of like exist. It's good days, there's bad days. My
Yeah.
bad days are leave me alone. I'll ride down to where Kyle was killed out, where the memorial is. I'll spend some time there talking to him.
Yeah.
And that gives me peace of mind. So, yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Because I know it's not that far from you. I mean, it's probably ain't but about 20 miles, is it? If I remember right.
Well, no, where I live, it's an hour for me to get there.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been down that road, so I couldn't quite remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to get back down that road.
Yeah, but it's, that's my place to go to just to kind of regroup, kind of like rejuvenate and it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's, you were talking about, excuse me. I hate these sinuses are killing me.
Yeah,
But, they made me lose my train of thought. I'm getting older. What can I say?
we all
Uh,
are.
but, you're talking about balance, and that is, man, that's so important. I told you I had talked to Rich Emberlin He was Dallas SWAT. He was criminal intelligence. I mean, if it's high speed, he's done it.
Yeah.
And every year he would go to the daddy-daughter dance with his daughter.
Right.
And the last one he was supposed to go to, I didn't know this until I talked to him. His best friend was Chris Kyle.
Okay.
And Chris had called him a few days before and said, "Hey man, I got this guy that this ladies want me to take to the range. Can you come out with me?" And he said, "Man, I wish I could. I've got to take her to the daddy-daughter dance that day. Go give Chad a call." And of course, we all know what happened.
Right.
But he was trying to do the de-stress. That was one of his things. On the first episode.
Yeah, but I imagine that put some guilt onto him that if he could have been there, maybe things would have turned out different.
Well,
so yeah,
and it's I'll put the two of you together. You can hear his story on that. It's amazing.
Yeah,
and he's such a great guy. I love him to pieces. And for me to balance, is doing things like this right here. This podcast I started as therapy. It's a couple of hours a day that I don't have to think about anything but what I'm talking about now.
That's right. Everybody has to find a way to kind of de-stress and go to what I'll call a happy place and kind of like just mellow out for a while and realize that there's other things in life besides your job, which is an important job, but you've got to find ways to relieve that stress and kind of be happy and then wanting to go back to work. Yeah. So whatever it takes.
Yeah. When we bought this house here, usually when we looked on Zillow, we weren't really looking to buy. My wife just enjoyed looking on there. And if there's one picture, she just scroll by those because there's something wrong. We're not going there.
That's right.
And one picture, and it wasn't a really great picture, but something about it caught her eye, and she was reading about it and saw the word pavilion. And one night we were coming down here to go to supper. Let's just ride by it. And we rode by, and I could see just the top of the roof line of my pavilion from the road, and that sold the entire house because
that's right.
25 by 50 foot covered concrete pavilion with a kitchen on the side of it.
Yeah, and it backs up there.
It backs up to a 12-acre lake.
Oh my God!
And
that's perfect.
I could probably get you in there fishing.
I hear you.
But that is my happy place, my place to de-stress. And oddly enough, I normally do it with public safety people.
That's what you got to do.
A couple of nights ago, I had my old partner out here who I still work with. He's just not my partner. He became a paramedic. I call him one of my kids now because I helped teach him, and my legacy goes through him now.
There you go.
We cooked steaks down there and had bourbon, and I tried scotch for the first time in 25 years. When I hated it 25 years ago, but I didn't like bourbon then either. And I figured out I like scotch. So we had a good time just sitting there in the middle of the evening, eating steaks and talking smack. And it was so much fun. And that pulls so much stress off.
That does. It really does. I mean, it's always nice to be able, there's only a certain amount of people that you can talk to that you can really kind of relate to and kind of like, you have the same kind of interest and you have the same kind of mindset that where you're talking, you can talk to them and they understand what you're saying and you understand them. It's other people that don't have a clue that you get frustrated with. And then I get mad and then I just start ranting and getting pissed.
Yeah.
And when I show the video sometimes when I'm talking to a class, I can feel myself getting angrier because I'm talking about certain elements of the video that really piss me off. And then I can tell that I'll get loud. And I had a buddy of mine tell me during the class, he said, come up to me and he says, calm down. You're getting pissed. and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But then I realized that these people that I'm talking to, it's not their fault. But I was kind of like raising my voice and getting angrier because of the fact that trying to get a point across to these people, especially like cadets, and they ain't got a clue. They think it's all shit and giggles, and they get to wear a gun and drive around in a nice car. They don't realize what they're actually signing up for. They think it's all, ride around. You're not going to get in any trouble, this and that stuff. Well, Kyle's stop is pretty evident that within a couple seconds, it can go from a good stop to hell in a handbasket in no time flat.
Yeah. Quick. And one thing that the video has done for me is, we deal with a lot of mental issues, a lot of people on drugs. Meth is so horrible. Oh, dude,
Yeah.
I hate it. And we run the gamut of some people are fine, and then the next minute, boom, case in point. We had a guy who had been in a place and caused a ruckus in there and left, and they pulled him over a couple of miles away, and we got called. We got there, and he just had that look. He was a big guy. I mean, there was nothing I could have done with him. Nothing.
Right.
I'd have been just a whooped ass. And I don't say that often, but I'd have been whooped. But it was. And we got him an ambulance, and he was very calm. All I did through the whole call, I sat and calmed him. But I stayed defensive, but not where he could tell. I've developed my ways of, okay, like General Mattis said, be kind to everybody, but have a plan to kill them.
Yep.
It was kind of that, about 100 yards from the hospital, he started that fast breathing. And I'm like, oh, it's fixing to break off. And we went to get him out of the truck. PD followed us over to the hospital. And I pulled my stretcher, and as soon as my wheels hit the ground, he got his legs out from under the bottom straps of the stretcher.
Right.
And I've got one ab, and he kicked me in it. Oh. I'm like, really, man? I got one, and you're going to hit it.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you never know what's going to go on.
You never know when it's going to turn from being a good call to something that's going to potentially hurt you.
Yeah.
And more people need to take that mindset, like General Mattis said, and then work it from there.
Yeah.
Be kind to everybody, but have a plan to kill them.
Exactly. When I go anywhere, I know 2 ways out from the get-go. Everybody, when we met, I'm sure you sized me up, I sized you up. That is
but
what it is.
When we were talking, it was never we were facing each other face to face.
Yeah.
Both of us were always kind of standing at an angle.
Yeah.
And that's the way I approach everything. I'm not going to square up with you and be face to face with you. Yeah. Nothing against you or anything, but I just don't. I've learned over the years that no, I don't want to be squared up with anybody. And anybody that knows me will tell you that. But that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not the world that either one of us grew up in now. And it's one thing I'm happy is I've never sheltered my daughters from anything as bad as I wanted to. I always wanted to be daddy's little girl and roses and dolls. And when we moved into the country when they were little, one of the first things I did, I showed them exactly through videos and pictures and all this, exactly what a snake bite will do to you. My daughters don't do snakes.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want them going out, oh, look, a pretty snake, and pick it up. And,
yeah. I don't do snakes either.
And, I've always, I hate a snake.
Yep. I got something for a snake, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I've always had guns in the house. And when they were big enough to understand, I taught them about guns. I taught them how to shoot. And my youngest daughter, she made me so proud. She was probably 7 or 8. And I bought one of the little 22 caliber crickets, the little bitty 22s.
Right.
And I let them pick a target offline, and I printed them out. And hers, God love her, she's my daughter. She picked out a monkey that was bent over, spreading its cheeks. You know what the bullseye was.
That's right.
From about 25 feet, her very first shot she ever fired was nothing but net. She didn't even hit the ink around the bullseye.
That's good.
Yeah. But, I've had some people say, you shouldn't teach them girls to shoot this early. If they know what that gun's going to do, they're not going to play with that gun.
That's right. That's exactly right. All my kids and my grandkids all know how to handle a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And they know the safety, and they're good at it. So whatever. So when they come to see Papa and stuff, they know they're going to run into guns someplace. So they know not to touch them and stuff. So it's all good.
Yep, definitely. And I wish that it could go back to the 70s, where the biggest thing I had to worry about was making sure I was home before them lights came on.
That's right. That's right.
And now it's just try and get home.
That's all right. Try to get home in one piece, and then do what you got to do, because you got to go back and do it again the next day. So it's just like, hey, I need to take time and do what I got to do.
Yep, that's it. Well, man, I tell you, I've had a blast talking to you on here today, and you're welcome up here anytime. You got to get up here, man. We got to do the cooking show. Yeah,
we got to do that. I got to get up there. Maybe in the next couple of weeks I can make it down that way.
Yeah, I'm off every other weekend, but I'll do it through the week too. I ain't ashamed to cook anytime.
I hear you. Sounds like a plan.
Definitely.
Well, if you need anything, just holler at me, brother.
I definitely will, brother. And you same here. I don't care if it's to talk or 3 o'clock in the morning. You got a joke or something. I don't care what. You got this number. All you got to do is holler.
I'll do it.